Welcome to another episode of Rich Dad Stockcast. I'm your host, Denney, and today we're diving into one of the most explosive topics in the market right now, artificial intelligence. AI isn't just a tech trend. It's a full-blown economic shift. It's impacting everything from how we work to where we invest. But here's the truth most people miss. The AI boom is bigger than you think, but it also comes with serious risks if you don't know what you're looking for. And that's why I've got Rich Dad expert Andy Tanner here to break it all down for us. How to think about AI as an investor, where the real opportunities are, how to avoid the traps. Now, before we jump in, make sure you grab your free investing tools and resources at stockcastbonus.com. Whether you're investing in AI or just trying to protect your portfolio, these resources are there for you. That's stockcastbonus.com. Let's get into it. Andy, welcome back to the show.
Oh, great. This is a great topic. It's funny. I've been writing a white paper on this, whatever white paper is, but it was white, it was paper, and I wrote it. So this is a very important time for our family here at the Cashflow Academy, actually, and the entire for the entire world. And the change is happening so fast that it's an exciting time, but it's time to move. I mean, you saw the internet. This will be far bigger. So, let's get into it.
Did Al Gore also invent AI too? No, that's an old internet joke.
He probably, most people aren't old enough to remember that.
To get
joke,
that joke. I know.
I am.
We're going way back. Anywho, Stockcast bonus. There's a bunch of cool stuff in there. Yeah. Can you tell our listeners what we receive when we go there?
Yeah, I mean, it's first steps. That has resources for the person that says, I want to do more than just watch a video. I want to do more. I want to have habits. I want to have a recipe. I want to be able to do things. And we start people off for free. I mean, that's the way to do it. We have advanced courses that we charge for, of course, but it's best, if you're going to look at asset classes, right? Like books are really good for people who are interested in success. Read a book on real estate, okay? Coaches and mentors, that's for people who are committed to success. If you're going to win a gold medal, you'll have a coach. You're going to win an NBA championship, you're going to have a coach. You're going to play golf, you're going to have a tennis coach, golf coach, whatever you're playing. But it's great to have a resource to say, well, can I find out, before I go to, wouldn't have been nice if college was like that, right? Could I find out a little more about what I'm, going to go invest my time into? So Stockcast Bonus is a great way to get to know us as teachers and to get some insane value that will be life-changing for sure. And whether a person pursues whatever asset class they choose, the principles we'll start you off with there are worth thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for no cost. Think about that for a minute. When people look at a book like Rich Dad Poor Dad, they say, well, it's, $20 or whatever. I don't even know what it costs on Amazon. $20. I don't know. $15. I have no idea. That's not worth $15. Now, if you tried to sell it to someone, it might be worth $15, but the stuff that's in there is worth millions of dollars. And so, go to stockcastbonus.com and don't let the free stuff fool you. It's free. That doesn't mean it's not worth anything. It's worth thousands. It's life-changing. For some people, it'll be worth millions. Can you imagine that? Someone passing on $1 million opportunity of knowledge because they didn't appreciate and they misjudged it. Well, what could it be? Go there. Find out. Yeah, it's like Hoist Gracie. I love Hoist Gracie. He's fighting all these great big guys, and he doesn't get in on the pre-fight hype. He's not going to, like most guys say, I'm going to knock him out the first round. He's going to put him in the hospital. And they're like, hey, Hoist, you're going to fight a guy twice your size. You're going to beat him? He goes, let's find out. That's all he has to say. Let's find out. Well, is Stockcast Bonus, going to change your life? Go find out. You can talk about it. Go find out. It's free. There you go. There's my pitch for stockcastbonus.com. You could do it or not, but I would. Free.
It's hard to beat free. Now, let's shift gears. AI. Okay, let's start big picture here. Why is the AI boom? And it's a boom right now. Why is it such a massive deal for investors right now?
I'll tell you why. I see a trifecta. That's a cool word. The trifecta, meaning three things coming together that create synergy. So, we've always had a sense and a fear that's been unwarranted in the past, a fear that automation would replace a human. Someone says, oh my gosh, here's this robot that can do the assembly line at Ford better than the people could. And so we're going to pull these people off an assembly line. Well, but now you got people building robots, right? And there was always this history of fears of being replaced or unwarranted because, you still have to have humans and stuff. But there's a trifecta that makes AI just a little different than that. And I think it's in my opinion, it's really important. So let's look at this trifecta. And maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, tell me in the comments, Andy, you're wrong. But don't be dogmatic. Tell me why I'm wrong, right? Don't just say, well, I disagree. Tell me why, if you do. So let's look at what a human can do. And let's just say sight, sound, smell, touch, taste, feel. Our eyes are pretty damn good. I mean, they're pretty amazing. The eye, if you look at what's here and how it works, it's pretty amazing. But I cannot see the moons of Jupiter with my naked eye or the rings of Saturn with my naked eye. And I can't see the microbes on the sponge. I can't see infrared and I can't see ultraviolet and a number, all kinds of other things I can't see. And machines can do all that now. In fact, so that's a big deal. The machines, like I have a telescope that can see it. I have a microscope that can see it, right? I have, my night vision goggles if I'm a Green Beret that can see it. So we have machines that enhance beyond what we're able to do. And animals the same way. Hawk can see better than a human. Look at ears. The dog can hear better than a human. Bloodhound can smell better than a human. But we have machines that can detect sounds outside of our range, frequencies, and bats have sonar, or bats have some type of radar, I guess, and dolphins, I guess, have sonar or whatever. But the machines can hear more sensitively than we can. Great. And you could go through all this. So that's the first thing, is you have input devices. That's what a human can do. I can see stuff, very quick. This is a coffee mug, right, with Diet Mountain Dew in it. So, there you go. I can see things, and that's great. Okay. So that's the first part, is input devices. Okay. The second part is the brain that transduces that stuff. It can recognize it, make sense of it, and calculate and, think about it and make decisions about it and contemplate it. And that's a game changer, because never before have we been able to have the machine and that connect with that stuff. For example, I've got a Tesla and I can hit a mode and it can see the road. Now, it doesn't see it maybe as well as I do, but actually it's only a matter of time before it will drive better than a human. There's a socialism that could happen there, where people say, look, it's just too risky to have humans drive. We just haven't proven we're good enough at it. Almost as if we're not allowed to fly the plane because we're not qualified. Well, if the best way to do it is automation, I'm putting my neighbors at risk, so for the greater good, all that type of stuff. But think about that. Now we've connected the ability to perceive with something that can think. Third part is manipulating the environment. We have hands. These opposing thumbs separate us from every other. You got maybe a bear or maybe a gorilla can take a stick and dig out some ants in an anthill or whatever they eat. But really, beyond a stick, we're unique in our ability to manipulate our environment and move stuff around. And some of that stuff we've been able to automate, where we use the joystick to drive a drone instead of this. But see, now you have all three for the first time. All three. You have perception, you have processing and decision making, and you have manipulation. All three. And I'm a guy that, I know I'm being long-winded here, but I'm a guy that looks at trends. And I see where trends are going, and I don't see this getting weaker. I think that the processing of the AI is faster. It can type faster than I can now. So it can look and scan, and it can read a document. It can think about it and manipulate a new one. So the blue collar or the white collar guys are in trouble, and the blue collar guys that work with their hands, there's going to be there's robots that can look at a strawberry and judge its color, and go out and hold that strawberry, and just by the pressure, it can tell whether it's perfectly ripe or not. And it can pick it. Robots they'll be building houses. That's the trend. Oh, that's not going to happen. If you'd have told my dad in the 1950s that we'd have self-driving cars before he died in his lifetime, he might not have believed you. Oh, come on. How could anything possibly see the road? They see better, hear better, smell better, touch better. The delicacy of surgery, with a steady hand, the machines will beat that. So that trifecta of perception, processing, and manipulation, that trend is going to change, how we work, because new technology always needed the human, because we never had all three. So when people say, well, we've always worried about technology, I say, well, but we've never had the trifecta. And what that means is the rat race is not something you're going to work to leave. It's something you're going to get kicked out of. Now, it's sobering. Everyone says, I want to get out of the rat race. Okay, well, you're going to be out. You're going to be out. And you'll probably wind up, UBI, universal basic income, which to me is just so scary, because how do I become the best that I can be if I have to be like everybody else? I don't believe in inequality, but I do believe in trying to be the best I can be, if that makes sense. I don't, I love to play basketball and see, hey, can I defend this guy? It's in our human nature to be the best we can be, and do the most good we can, serve the most people. How do I do that if everyone has to be the same? And so the solution to this, maybe when we come back, I don't know, I was a little long-winded there, but it's sobering to think about that trifecta, is it not? And if I look at the trend of being able to, there's leverage in this. There's leverage. You can do more with less. That's all leverage is. And if you can do even more with even less, and then tomorrow you can do even more and more and more with even less and less and less, and the next day you can do even more and more and more and more and more with less and less and less, finally you get to do everything with nothing. That's where it heads. It's like infinite return. It's the same mathematical principle that once you can make money with nothing, with your mind, now you have everything with nothing, right? Software is very close to that. It's ones and zeros. It's basically ethereal that is manifest into the physical, and you do everything with just thoughts. So yeah, it's a really interesting time, because the exponential nature is not just a trend; it's an exponential trend. And our children, and particularly our children's children, the world will be unrecognizable to us. And so with that trifecta, that's where when people say, well, we've always had technology and blah, 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 there'll be some humans. We got to, have some humans. We just don't need as many. We can do more with less. And so population's big, and I remember, before we go to break, I'll share one more story. I know I've been long-winded, but you can tell I've written a little bit of paper on this. I've thought a lot about it. I remember that growing up, I grew up in Utah, and my dad was a devout. He taught religion as a living. So he's very devout. We were a Bible studying family. And when we would go to our church, we had these things called callings, jobs that people would do. This guy taught the little children, and this guy taught the youth. That's what I did a lot. This guy taught Sunday school, and this guy, helped with the grounds. We had these opportunities to serve each other. Well, when I got older, the church approached me and they said, would you do a strange service for us? We have a lot of people that haven't got married yet, and we want to create a congregation of everyone that's not married, so they can mingle and figure out how to get married. It was huge. There were hundreds and hundreds of people that came to that every single Sunday. And part of our culture was to, be issued a responsibility to serve, an opportunity to serve. And in some congregations, you had all of these needs and no people. And you'd sit there in leadership and say, well, we need someone to, sponsor and be a youth leader at a camp. Who can we get? Everyone's busy. It was actually the opposite in this large congregation of hundreds and hundreds of people, where they weren't fulfilled because there was just too many to find any way to service. Everyone was being served, but had no opportunity to serve, because we had a huge amount of population, but there was just not enough jobs for everybody. It was like an unemployment of sorts, where people could consume, but there was no opportunity for them to produce. They could come to Sunday and listen to the lesson, but there was so many people that that there was only so much work to be done. And it was a huge challenge for us because people weren't fulfilled. Because, you can go and listen to the sermon, that's fulfilling, but it's more fun to go run a youth camp, right? And really serve. And so that's kind of where I see it going, Del. That trifecta is a big deal.
That trifecta is huge. It's really opening my eyes here. But let's do this. Let's go to break real quick. We're in one of the middle of one of the biggest economic shifts that we have ever seen in decades, and most investors, they're either overexposed or completely missing the point. When we come back, Andy's going to walk us through how to think like the rich when it comes to AI, including how to profit from it responsibly and avoid those landmines that are out there. And if you're serious about learning to invest like the rich, head over to stockcastbonus.com. We've got free tools, resources, training to help you to level up your financial education and make smarter decisions. Stick around. We'll be right back.
So far, it's been great. I needed a source where I could really enrich my education through stocks. I didn't really have an avenue for it, and it's helped me a lot. The simplicity has really gotten me on the track to where I enjoy the learning, as well as it's really solidifying in my mind. And they're not just trying to sell you something, they really care about the people that are in the course, and they really do care about you and your personal goals, and what you want to do is to help you and your family and whatever your goals are in life through that. So it's really been great.
Welcome back to Rich Dad Stockcast. We're here with Andy Tanner talking about the AI boom, and now we're going to get strategic. So, yeah, Andy, being strategic here, strategery. I love that word. What are strategery?
Stratagem.
Yeah, there we go.
What are some stratagem?
Let's create some stratagem here for our listeners. What are some smart, low-risk ways investors can get exposure to the AI boom without going all in? Like, what do we do? How do we use it to our advantage?
Well, it's interesting. If I hate drawing biblical because I'm not qualified, but there's stuff in the word there that really still influences my life in a big way. There's a story, and I'll probably destroy this. So all the pastors, you rail on me, and I'll admit that I was misguided or whatever. But there's a story in the Old Testament where the people are sick, and Moses holds up the staff with a serpent on it. And that's why when you see an ambulance, you'll see that little snake, around the healing, staff of the little snake wrapped around the pole on an ambulance. And the idea is he would hold up this serpent staff, and if the people would gaze upon it, they would be healed. But a lot of people didn't show up to take a look because they thought, well, that's too easy. And because of the easiness of the way, they dismissed it. So here I've just described a fairly complex change, and I'm going to say it's pretty easy to solve, and so people will miss it. I don't quote Jeff Bezos often, but I've been quoting him on this podcast. And I'd like to repeat that quote if it's not too redundant. He was at some type of forum where people could ask questions, and someone said, "Hey, Jeff, what do you see the biggest change being in the future?" He said, "That's a great question. I always want to be aware of what might change." And we just did that in the first half of the podcast. What might change? Well, the trifecta is a big change. But he said a better question often to ask is what will stay the same. You know, behind me, I have a Galton board. Let me grab it. Object lesson. Get back into focus here. Object lesson. This is a Galton board. It's a probability demonstrator. And I'll try not to get the studio lights in this. But down here in this reservoir, there's a bunch of BBs. Don't know if you can see the BBs or not, but you can see little tiny BBs in here. See the BBs in the reservoir?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of, it's like a Plinko board, and the price is right. And I can flip this 100 zillion, billion, trillion, quadrillion times. And there will be never a time, there'll never be a time where this pattern doesn't reveal itself. Every time. I mean, now I cannot tell you which BB will wind up in which trough. I can't say this BB will go in the middle and this BB will wind up out here and this BB will, I can't do that. It's kind of like Vegas. I don't know which roulette hand the people win or the casino wins. Can't tell you. But I can tell you over time, it's gonna look like that. Like I can draw a line on this board and it will fill the line. See that? It'll fill the line if I get it held straight. And so I can do this 100 zillion times. It's a weird toy. It's actually called a probability demonstrator, but it's going to be the same every time. The reason that's important is it allows me to predict the future to some degree. I can predict what's going to happen with that Galton board. It's a probability demonstrator. So if you can find out the things that won't change, right, amidst change, if you can identify the things, we call these at Rich Dad Culture generalized principles, but if you can find the things that won't change and build your house on them, you can build your house upon a rock rather than the sand that changes. And I'll tell you one thing that will not change. Producers, income goes to the producers. Bitcoin, you're on a desert island and I own the resources, the food, the clothing, the shelter, all the services, and you have a Bitcoin. You may or may not have any wealth at all. Because when you're hungry, I'm going to tell you what I want. If I want Bitcoins, then I'll get them from you. If I don't, I'll make you give me something else, right? Maybe it's your labor. But if I don't need your labor, what do you have to offer? It's an interesting idea that work for pay, that equivalency of dollars per hour, right? Certain amount of hours equal to a certain amount of dollars, vanishing. Work is losing its value. Human work is losing its value. But production won't change in that cash and wealth will funnel itself to production. The person who provides the food might not be a person anymore, might be a robot. But the person who owns the robot still gets the cash because he is the true producer, or she. So it's no different. The way out of the rat race is to have money work for you and ownership and production. That's the way out of the rat race. It's always been that way. It hasn't changed other than now there's no rat race to go to. And so socially, people are going to talk about UBI. That conversation, mark my words, that conversation will be coming up more and more and more as people are worth less and less and less in terms of labor. And so ownership of AI. Now, I'm not talking about NVIDIA. That's missing the boat. I'm not talking about Google and Apple, which, by the way, they do have the head start. This is different than the internet where anyone could start a Google and bang. These guys have quantum computing they're working on. They're buying power plants to get their own. I mean, they have the head start. And anything that looks promising, they're going to snatch it up if they can. But I'm not talking about the tech. I'm talking about people that sell ketchup. Because what AI does with that trifecta is it produces things more efficiently. In other words, now listen to this. This is really important. There will be an increase in productivity. So if I'm a producer and I can have an increase in productivity, that's an increase in wealth. That's for sure. So I think we got to be prepared for the bust because there'll be volatility for sure, just like with the internet bubble bursting. All the pretenders get cleaned out. But then there's the boom of production because of technology, right? That's why the NASDAQ is where it is, right? Had a 10-year nothing and then bang, right? Well, it's if you own a, let's say you sell, tomato sauce. AI makes your growing better. AI makes your picking better. AI makes your transportation more efficient. AI makes your inventories more efficient. AI makes your manufacturing more efficient, your advertising more efficient, your marketing more efficient, your customer service more efficient. Everything gets better no matter what you produce. So if you're Warren Buffett and you say, what's a good moat? For example, take Burlington Northern Santa Fe. No one is going to come up with $500 billion and say, let's build a different railroad to compete with them. It's just too much money to do. And if you want to move something, lumber, if you're a housing guy, that railroad's real. AI will make that railroad more efficient. It'll get better. And he owns it, right? There'll be more automation on how it's loaded, how it's driven, the efficiencies of it'll all get better. So when you look at the gross domestic product, the GDP, it will be very, very difficult to have recession over the next 20 years. It'll be hard to do. Now, the antagonist to that is the idiots that are men that, spend too much or whatever. But can we grow our way out of that problem? I don't know. We got to be prepared for both boom and bust. That's all. That doesn't change, right? But the one thing that we know is the cash flow direction here at the Cash Flow Academy. The direction the cash flow won't change. It will go the same way. Producer gets the cash and consumer pays for it. That's going to stay the same, most likely. I don't see a difference in that in the next 100 years. So you want to build your rock on that. You want to build your house on that rock. And so stock ownership right now, are you going to go buy Dairy Queen from Warren Buffett? It's not for sale. So the only way to really take advantage of huge production and that leverage is stock ownership. Now, I love real estate. I'm not bashing it, but A housing around the world, there's not like one A housing that went through the roof, unless it's by location maybe, but the technology can go through the roof. It can be a shooting star. You have this thing called the 10 bagger, which is 1,000% return. You get that in real estate through leverage, right? The ability to own it with nothing. It's about reducing the size of the investment rather than increasing the price of the house, right? That's infinite return. But the boom that will happen in production, in my opinion, as that trifecta continues to consolidate and grow exponentially, it's very, 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 very vital that people gain the financial education to position themselves to buy great companies that will benefit from this increase in production, so they own the production. See, stocks aren't a piece of paper. Paper asset is not a term I like, because real estate is about deeds and stocks are about certificates, and money is paper. And Bitcoin doesn't even have paper. It's just electronics. So these are all just representations of things that we own. It's just another form of ownership, whether it's owning a contract, like a promise, like an insurance contract, but the contract is real, right? It's the stocks are real. Burlington Northern Santa Fe has railroads that you can see, touch, and feel, just like, someone has real estate you can see, touch, and feel. I can see, touch, and feel an iPhone. It's real. So ownership is it hasn't changed. What I do won't change. What I teach won't change, because what I teach are generalized principles that don't change. This is how I trade. I'm going to be 90% right on my trades. 90%. I don't know which one is going to be right or wrong, or I obviously take the 10% where I'm wrong and not do those. But if I decide to stay within this range right here, and I know that this is the most likely thing, if I bet on this middle one and I don't bet on this one, I'll be right a lot more than I'll be wrong. So I don't bet on the BB, I bet on the landing place. Let me say it again. I don't bet on the BB. I bet on the landing column. And that's what we teach. And it starts at stockcastbonus.com. Go start learning what we know. If you think this is insightful, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but luckily, since I don't have a regular job, I get to sit around and think about this stuff all day and talk to people that are smarter than me. Ownership is how to face AI, not NVIDIA. It's Occidental Petroleum. It's some banks. It's the production that you want to be a part of, and that is the absolute answer. The financial education is the absolute answer to thriving when the conversation changes from Andy, I want to get out of the rat race, to Andy, I've just been kicked out of the rat race and now I can't even work for money. I mean, think about that. The choice used to be I could work for money or have money work for me. The choice to work for money is waning. Now I'm going to be fed by a UBI. And the sad part of that is it never works, because if everyone has the same amount of money, everybody spends and the prices just adjust. It's just like Social Security doesn't give security because it's just below, it's just basic economics, really. It's not that tough to see. There's always the safety net of the baseline of the bottom. And yeah, standard of living is better, right? Charlie Munger, before he died, said it, we live better than most kings. The guy on welfare eats better, has better health care than, King Henry the whatever, way back in whatever. They have indoor plumbing, which right away beats King Henry, right? So there you go. That's my spiel on AI. Very important. Whoops, sorry, I got the phone going off here. I should turn that off. But there you have it. That's my spiel on AI. Learn ownership. Go to stockcastbonus.com. Get your butt going. Get going. Time's a ticking.
That it is. Now, what's one action? We love action, right? Not just learning, but action. What's one action a listener can take this week to begin preparing for the AI-driven economy?
Well, I don't know about one. You could buy a stock and learn that way and roll the dice by mistakes. And that's not a bad way to learn from mistakes. Go buy some stock and it goes down or you lose your butt. Great. Or you get educated. And I already said it. We have free resources that we advertise every podcast. And if you've watched this podcast and you've been one of the people that hasn't gone there and hasn't downloaded that stuff for free, what can I tell you? My job is to serve as many people as I can. And I hold the cards because I produce. So if you want to learn how to flip that and become the producer, go learn from a producer. And the way to do that for free is stockcastbonus.com. If you think the things we've talked about are worth listening to, my invitation to you is to get to know us better. That's what you can do, is surround yourself with great teachers. And whether it's me or someone else, that's fine. But learning, the smarter people, that's always the same. The producers, that's always the same. Being smarter is always better than being dumber. Doing things is always better than not doing things. Action is always better than inaction in the long run. Producing is better than consuming. So the trifecta is consolidating faster than people know. A lot of it is going on behind the scenes because they don't let out their secrets. Imagine what's out there right now that you don't know about. That's why generalized principles are so huge, because they don't change. They're predictable.
That's awesome. Yeah, quantum computers. That's going to be amazing down the road.
Yeah,
we don't even know what that's going to do for us later.
Isn't it going to be fun when we look back and say, "Oh, wasn't that blockchain stuff cute when they invented that?" It's kind of like when they came out with the DVD. Wasn't that cute when they invented that? And now look at this. And people don't have the vision. They do not have the vision. They are blind to what they can't yet see. If you can't see it, then you have to admit you're blind. Well, I can't see that happening. Well, that's because you're blind. But I can see it happening. You bet I can.
It's going to be huge. It is going to be huge. Well, let's do this.
No, one more thing. We got to say this. Well, quantum computing. No one even thought about quantum computing in the 20s. What's beyond quantum computing? We'll look back at quantum computing like computing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at the printing press. Oh my gosh, look at this disseminating information. Who would have thought the internet, right? I mean, that's the way things go. The discoveries that we haven't run into yet. And so to say that anything is permanent other than a generalized principle just doesn't work that way. So there you go. So that's it.
Wild. That's it. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. AI changing the game, but it's just like
Big
every
time.
revolution that we just talked about, the internet, all that good stuff. There will be winners, there'll be losers. The goal isn't to figure out and guess the future, it's to prepare for it. And a big thank you to Andy Tanner for breaking it down. If you're listening to this, you're already ahead of the pack. And keep going. Head over to stockcastbonus.com. Grab your free investing tools, whether you're new or experienced. These resources will help you to build a portfolio based on strategy and not just speculation. And if you got value from today's episode, like, subscribe, share it with someone who's watching the AI boom unfold. You're not here by accident by any means. You're building something that most people won't. So stay smart, stay invested, and we'll see you next time.
This podcast is a presentation of Rich Dad Media Network.